Hey guys, it's Artsy, and do you guys want to see a tutorial? So I use Blue to sketch, so I'm going to be doing that. And for a front-facing face, you add a circle, then a line down the center, and then two curved lines connecting where you want the chin to be to the center. Then you add two lobes for the ears and fill in the rest. Then for a 3/4, you do the same circle, but the line this time is going to be curved and in between the center and the side. Then add a shorter curved line to fill in the short side of the face that you're not seeing. Then for a side profile, you do a circle, then a line all the way to the side. Connect the ear to the rest of the face by drawing a curved line at the chin. So the eye should be placed directly in the middle of the top of the head and the chin, and that should be where the middle of your eye is. Then you draw kind of a circle or an oval type of shape, add whatever details that you like. Make sure that they're at least a bit spaced apart. Now for the 3/4, you make the side that is facing you mostly look pretty much normal, and then you want to align them so it's the same height but not the same width, so it kind of looks smushed, the side that you're not seeing as much, to add the illusion of perspective, and they should of course be the same height. Now finally, side view, it should look like the outer part of the eye in the front view, and then you should stop it and just position it more forward on the face than it would be for the other views, of course, same placement as before. Next, the nose should always be halfway between the eye midpoint and the chin. It should be the end of where your nose is, and it should be look a bit curved because nobody has a completely straight nose. The curve will depend on the person, and for the mouth, it should be a bit above the halfway point between the nose and the chin, the end of the nose and the chin. And eyebrows, you kind of do whatever with. I don't have many rules as long as they are reaching the same point on the eyes. So same principles for the nose for the 3/4, except for it should look more curved because you're seeing it from a more side perspective in front of instead of the front. And it should hit the end, it should be a bit in front of the corner of the eye of the farthest side. The mouth is the same except for it had some foreshortening on the farther side to indicate perspective, and then do the same thing that you did with the eyes for the eyebrows, just make sure that they're level. So side view is a bit different. You're going to want to show the curve from the side of the nose and then draw it in the middle in the same place you would for the center and 3/4 view. Then for the mouth, I would indicate some kind of lips because most people do have lips, but the size depends on what your preference is. And make sure that for the eyebrows, they align with the end of the eye. So if you're trying to go draw cartoons the same way that I do, you're going to want to make your characters have fairly big heads in comparison to their bodies without them looking like children. So I make my shortest characters definitely like 4.25 heads, and then I make my tallest characters 5 or 5.25 heads. This just works for me though. Do whatever floats your boat. Also, I'm going to show all of the images I did to represent these things. If you want to screenshot them, there are all the analyzed versions to understand in the future. Feel free to. Now, to the body types, I wanted to represent, there's lots of different body types, obviously. Everybody looks a little bit different, but I wanted to represent main 4 ones. A more muscular feminine, these are all feminine, by the way. A more muscular body type, a more very thin and kind of lanky body type, a thicker, heavier kind of body type, and then I wanted to finally do a curvy hourglass girl. These are just some of the main 4 that most people can somehow be grouped into. Obviously, there are exceptions to the rule. There are very different types of people. So if you're drawing an athletic girl, you're going to want to make her muscles in her calves and where her arms connect. I forget what they're called. I don't know why, her biceps, larger, and she will probably likely have, her hips will appear a little bit lower, although they're not actually, so because of muscle. For the thin, lanky body type, you're just going to want to make her thin, and you're not going to want to make her hips too large in comparison, because your hips are mainly, it can vary from person to person, fat, non-prominent calves and arms. Then for a curvier girl, fat is distributed for most people evenly throughout the body, so you're going to want to make her look less muscular than the muscular girl, but definitely have some larger calves and like upper legs and stuff, and don't just make her look thick only in her stomach, because then she'll look pregnant, and everywhere else but her stomach, because then she'll just look very strange. Also, give her probably like some kind of bigger boobs or something, because boobs are fat, and there are many people who don't have boobs who are thick, and that is a thing, but most people do. And vice versa, for the thin body type, you're going to want to give her not a lot of boobs. So for curvy people, she's kind of like, curvy people are often bigger people, so give her a bigger bust and then like a thinner waist, but not so thin, the same way that the thin girl was. And then very prominent like legs and arms, but that look more muscly, but not necessarily as muscly as the athletic girl. And this is all 4 body types I showed. Next, I'm going to be putting all of these like drawing principles into action with a little sketch that I did. It was originally supposed to be just a character, but then I kind of, just let my brain flow, and I wanted to give her, straight, not like shortish hair, and that didn't fit any of my characters necessarily, so I just made her a girl. So basically, obviously, the face principles need to be even, and I'm giving her a looking down thing kind of. If you want to learn more about perspective and how I draw things like eyes and mouths and noses and just my style and hair, then I do have a video. I'll link it in the iCard, but go watch that if you're interested in figuring out more about my style. This girl's body type is more of the curvy type, I'd say, although you can't really tell because you can only see her like face and her bust up. So for the eyes, I did copy and paste the eyes. I wanted to give them a little bit of spruce, so I kind of gave them a different shape than my original type. And I copy and pasted it, and I just shrunk one side to make it, fit onto the face correctly. She's not looking too far to the side, just a little bit, subtly. So I didn't want to, foreshorten it too much. Then I gave her some eyebrows. I wanted to give her just like round, cute little eyebrows, just because I thought that would look nice. So I'm going to quickly explain here for a second. I know it's kind of late in the video too, but I'm going to explain why I am making this video and what the format is. So at the beginning, I showed all the kinds of ways that I draw things and tutorials, and then by the end, I'm going to be doing a full illustration where I kind of explain my process, or 2 full illustrations. One's going to be black and white. This one I'm going to color in black and white to kind of accentuate the values, which are one of the most important parts. Coloring isn't necessarily as much about the colors as it is about the values and how to make things contrast and stuff. And then the other one I'm going to be fully rendering. It's a fan art of Anne with an E. And at the beginning, I just wanted to include some preliminary things I felt like were important. Also, I have a special coming up. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. Thank you all. So if you have any ideas for what I should do, leave them in the comments. I think I'm going to host a big collab, but I'm not quite sure yet. So if you want to see anything in particular from me, go ahead and tell me. Anyways, I applied the principles that I said earlier in the video, and now we are done with the sketch, and I'm going to move on to the colors. So for the coloring, you want to add a lot of contrast. You don't want to have too many colors that are too similar next to each other, because that makes the drawing look muddied. I did this in black and white just to show that. So for my shading techniques, I like to keep it pretty simple. I do a lot of cell shading, but I do a combo of cell shading and then kind of fading the cell shading out into soft shading, but you always have to add shadows where you think that the light would be, like below where you think the light would be hitting. If there's an object in the way, then it would cast a shadow. So, like below one of her pieces of hair where the light is hitting in the top right, and then for highlights, you're going to want to add them right where the sun is hitting and there's nothing obstructing it. And that is the final piece. I hope you like it. And for my last drawing for today's video, it is a fan art piece for Anne with an E in the final episode. And I'm going to be combining everything that I said in this video into one drawing, and also explaining some things about what my process looks like and how I work. So I did a bunch of this on stream, actually. I did a live. So it might slow down or speed up at a certain point based on that. So I put all of these principles for the sketching into one thing. I gave her a little prop to, add more detail into somewhere to direct the viewer's eye. I added her parasol. Also, I liked the parasol. So I didn't want to add every single detail from her outfit, but I made it pretty detailed. There are certain areas that have less and more detail. Also, when you're drawing things like hair, you don't want to draw every single strand. You just want to draw the ones that you feel like would add to it, because drawing every strand is a waste of your time and it won't look any better. If anything, it'll look worse. So for the inking, I like to do my sketch really thick, so then I like to tone it down a little bit with a slightly thinner inking pen. I knew that I wanted to make her hair definitely a main point because it's so important to, not important, but it's a big part of her personality and her show, and it kind of represents, the color is important and represents her as a person. But her eyes looked a little bit strange. I wasn't completely happy with them, but I fixed them later on. I think that they look all right now. The dress that she's wearing is definitely very 1800s. Like, this is the episode where she kind of comes into being like a woman, and I felt like I wanted to show that, make her look very regal and stuff. Always flip your canvas to make sure that it looks okay. Your drawing might look wonky if you don't flip it, because your eyes are so used to looking at what you're looking at that, when you change it up, you're like, oh God, why does that look so strange, or something like that. Hands, I never will make a tutorial on those. I don't know. Oh, by the way, I'm only making this tutorial not because I think that I'm like a professional of any sorts, or, I got a lot of people asking me to explain how I draw. This isn't necessarily a tutorial on how you should draw. It's how I draw, and a lot of the principles of, drawing and artwork and painting I included in this, so it's not just coming from me. These are actual things that matter. So for colors, you want to obviously add different contrast, and the other piece was not in color, but I messed around with the colors. I added the background to a black color. Obviously, I did not have as much free will with this as I would have liked to show, because it's a fan art. But you can still have fun with your coloring style and the shading that you do. So for her hair, I wanted to darken it a little bit because I thought that it would add a prettier, like, glowier effect to her face, which is very pale. She's very pale. Also, if you look hard enough, you can see that the freckles that I gave her are actually little hearts, because I have a heart brush that I made. It's nothing special. It's literally just hearts. And I shrunk it really small, and I gave them to her as, like, her freckles you can see right here. And I just thought that was a little cute detail. Now, I'm going to get into shading in a minute. And for shading skin, I like to do a kind of their skin but darker and redder, and I like to do some like overlays that kind of apply to all of them. So you can see here that I put the sun above the parasol because I thought that it would make a pretty shadow, and a few pieces of her hair are sticking out, and I'm planning to do something really to make those really pop later on so you can tell that there's a shadow. But I went through a lot of layers of different shading for her, and for her face especially, and you can see me playing around with different things, but you want to go dark. If you think you're going dark, you might not be going dark enough for your shadows, because it's hard to mess it up, and if you add too much, then you can just erase and highlight later. I like to use a red, so skin is naturally like orange, red, or yellow. I like to use a yellower color for the highlights and an oranger color or redder color for the shading. So I'm going to speed through this, the shading of her clothes, because that's a whole nother video. This is just about people, but I do love the way that I did that, and I think that the shadows are really pretty there. Now for hair, also in a different video, but I'll go over it a little bit. I don't like to use big chunks. I like to use smaller strokes, not so many that it's like obnoxious, but I never be afraid to go too dark with the hair. It's really hard to. You could basically use black and no one would notice. Then for highlighting, I especially highlighted the pieces that were not in shadow of her hair, like at the corner, which you can see right now, and a few of the pieces inside just to make it pop a little bit. And then at this point, I was almost done, but I had a few more effects to add in. I like to add just, overlays and color variation to make it look really pretty and add some congruency to the thing. People that say that you cannot do this with traditional art are lying. You can anything in this video that I say that you can do for digital is possible in traditional. It's just I find it difficult to film traditionally, so I don't often do traditional videos. Also, add some colors that don't entirely fit there. I added some like green and some purple to the white shading, and I added some grays to various parts, and to her hair there was definitely like some, color variation thrown in there. So don't be afraid to add in things that look like they don't fit. They blend in and they add some spruce to it. And then I added a cute little background. It was really quick, just some leaves and a window, and there you are. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and bye!